Hi everyone. We've had several weeks of very cold weather, followed by a few days of very warm weather, and it's caused some of the deciduous trees, such as this Asian liquidambar here, to either emerge from dormancy early or to get very close to it. So today, this is going to be probably the best opportunity to repot this tree, unless we want to wait until next year. And since this tree's been sitting in this flower pot for a lot of years, just thickening up and waiting to become a bonsai, there isn't really going to be a better time than right now. You can see the new buds here getting ready to burst, and yet at the same time, the last of last year's old leaves haven't dropped off. But this gives us an interesting demonstrational opportunity here. We're going to pot it in this deep blue glazed pot here, and we generally don't use blue pots for junipers or conifers or evergreens. We use them for deciduous trees because the blue harmonizes with the fall color. And the nice thing here is, because the tree still has some of last fall's leaves still on it, you can see the interesting contrast between the leaves, which start out bright yellow when the tree goes into dormancy. Then they deepen through a orange-red color, and finally they typically finish a deep burgundy. So let's get started on the repotting. Now I'm going to wear gloves here, partly so I can get a good grip on the tree, and partly to protect my hands, since we're probably going to need to use the mallet and maybe something else to get the tree out of the pot. So let's go over here to the garden wagon, and we'll carefully pound on the sides of the pot with the mallet, and just try to loosen the tree up with a digging tool or a cultivator to get as much of the soil off the old roots as we can. This tree's been in this pot for a very long time, and I think what we're going to do next is use a hose to rinse away the rest of the soil before we start cutting, because this tree is going to need some substantial root reduction to fit into the bonsai pot. This is what the root ball looks like with the soil washed off. Now it's just a matter of pruning it so that the tree will fit into the bonsai pot. Now, these roots are large enough and easily enough discernible that I can cut through them individually and be selective about what I cut and where. You want to use a very sharp tool for cutting these roots, because if the blade is dull, it will crush the roots and leave a wound that is prone to rot. But if you cut them cleanly across, then the wound will heal nicely. Now, one problem I see with this tree is it has formed a rather thick bowl down below the roots. And we're probably going to have to do something with a saw, possibly, and do some heavy cutting in order to get it to fit into the bonsai pot. But what I'm going to do is hose the rest of the dirt out from under here and hope that I'm not dealing with solid wood here. There's good news and there's bad news. Well, there is a fairly thick root bowl. It doesn't extend as far down as I thought it did, and so we're just going to proceed carefully with the large concave cutter here and try to get enough of it out from under the tree so that the tree will fit into the bonsai pot. turn it over and go back after this mass of roots on this side. Alright, that takes care of that large root. Now it's just a matter of getting into this here, and again, it looks like I'm cutting mostly through old soil till we get right up to there. This should be enough roots to sustain the tree, and we should be close to getting it into the pot. We're going to have to do a little bit more work on the roots near the surface now. So we'll take this off here. Now, some people may think that I'm taking an awful lot of roots here, but this is a deciduous tree, and we can take a lot more roots off a deciduous tree than we can off a conifer and still have a viable tree, because they tend to be extremely good at producing root growth in the early spring. Now let's try to put it on the turntable, fit it in the pot again, and see where we are. And we're actually getting very close. We just need a little bit more off of this root here. Now this should allow the tree to sit in the pot quite nicely. Right, and I've got the back of the tree where I want it, and I've got the front of the tree where I want it. So a little bit of cleanup trimming. I'll use the big one for that. And I think we can start the actual potting process here. So let's get some soil. And this is my usual mix. It's a mix of agricultural pumice, decomposed granite, builder's sand, and commercially available potting soil like Miracle-Gro. And for a deciduous tree like this, I go about 1/3 organic, because we can get some pretty hot weather here. You know, for example, we're having temperatures in the 80s today. And we need a little bit of water retention to keep the trees healthy. So we're going to very carefully backfill in around the tree now. And the nice thing about this mix is granular enough that it will work its way down between the roots very easily. So we'll just keep filling in. We don't want to leave any air pockets. That would be bad for the health of the tree. If you don't want to use your fingers to work the soil in here, you can use a chopstick. And in fact, that's what a lot of old-timers prefer to do. But I'm just going to keep working it in with my fingers until I'm sure there are no further voids. One big problem with having void spaces in bonsai pots around here is if you do leave any, you can find that your pot's been colonized by black ants, and the ants bring other undesirable insects with them, such as aphids and scale insects. Now when we water, the soil level will drop just a little bit, and hopefully we'll have enough of this wonderful root mass exposed to really show it off. Now this isn't going to be the only thing I'm going to be doing with this tree. Once I'm certain that it's healthy and growing well in this pot, I'm just adjusting it a little bit for position right now. Then we're going to rework the pruning scar on the top of the tree and some of the other pruning scars. And we'll start this really looking like a bonsai. Okay, this is about as good as it gets for the soil. So let's bring in the hose and run a little water. And the fine stuff is just going to rinse away and eventually flow out the bottom of the pot. Yeah, I got the soil level up just a little too high towards the pot right here. Okay, there it goes. Now it's starting to drain out properly. Take this down just a little bit more. Okay, and now we've got it all draining out the bottom of the pot very nicely. So, we'll just add maybe a little bit of moss for decoration, and then we'll be finished here. Alright, we're just going to tuck the moss in here right against the base of the tree. This moss is from a supply that I keep, and in fact this came off another tree I repotted that had excessive moss growth. And then we need to trim this tree just a little bit because we're going to get some rather explosive growth from it in the very near future. So we'll just go around here and go back to where we think the growth should be. Now this branch looks like it's dead. It's alive out to there, so we'll get some new growth from that. And this one is kind of superfluous. I'll just take a look. Some of these just need to be shortened in order to keep the tree in proportion. That part was dead. And this part was simply a little too long. Very close now to where we should be. Okay, that about finishes the work on this tree for today. In the future, we'll reform this pruning scar here and do further work also on these scars here. But that is work for another day. So this is where the tree is at the present state of development. Thank you for watching, folks.